Hey guys, welcome back to We Met at Acme. I'm so excited to be here with former magazine editor and founder of Hotel Lobby Candle, Lindsay Silberman. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for making the time. I am so excited to finally meet you in person, and I'm so curious, what is your favorite romantic gesture?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm a big acts of service person. So any kind of service related act, like literally taking out the garbage and basically just doing the shit that I don't want to do, that is romance as far as I'm concerned.
I agree with that. And what is your current relationship status?
I am married. I've been married last year we celebrated our 6-year anniversary. So this year will be 7.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And people don't realize how hard it is to be married for almost 7 years.
Okay, try being married and also running a business together.
Right.
I feel like that's an entirely different, that adds a whole other element of a wild card to the table. But yeah, and we've known each other for 16 years.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask, so what's your story? Like, how did you guys meet? And
so it's a very funny story. We both went to college together. We both went to Syracuse. He was a couple years older. Didn't really know each other at the time in school, except that he worked at a bar that me and my friends would try to go to, and we were underage. And he was kind of like an asshole who would check IDs and reject girls who weren't 21. So I sort of only knew of him as that. And then, fast forward to college spring break. It was my sophomore year, his senior year. We were in Mexico at a nightclub, and I was at a table. The club was packed. I was at a table. There was literally like one open seat next to me. And apparently, as he says it, he saw me, he saw the open spot, and he just made a beeline to sit down next to me. And we hooked up that night. And, I was like spring break. Also, he was a senior, like he was graduating in a few months. So I was like, okay, cool. It's nice to meet you. Like, have a good life.
Yeah.
See you. Like, maybe I'll awkwardly bump into you on campus. And now we've been married for 6 years. There were a lot of things in between.
Right.
But, the person that you think is maybe going to be your one night stand could end up being your husband.
I love that. And I have to ask, when's your birthday and when is his?
January 31st is mine, and his is September 15th.
Oh, so an Aquarius and a Virgo.
Yeah.
I love that.
And it's really interesting. I'm not super into astrology, but occasionally I'll post about him or things he does or whatever on Instagram, and everyone guessed that he was a Virgo. Like, no one even, I didn't talk about his birthday, but people are like, oh, that's Virgo energy. He's totally Virgo. And I realized that it was all so accurate. He's just very organized, and I'm just a little bit all over the place. I'm, more scattered and creative.
The creative, totally.
And he is,
that makes
keeps
sense.
us in line, which I think makes us very compatible.
Totally. And you guys, part of your story, and this happens a lot with couples who knew each other for so long, who've been together for so long, is that you had broken up and gotten back together. When in your relationship was that? Was it more than once? And kind of what brought you back?
So we, got together. It was after the whole spring break thing, we ended up going back to school and reconnecting there, and really enjoyed hanging out. But I also was just very hesitant because I was like, this literally makes no sense. You're moving to the city. I have 2 more years left, and I was going to study abroad. So I was kind of adamantly against it. He was very persistent and eventually made me his girlfriend. And then we stayed together for 2 more years, while I was all, long distance, while I was in college, and even when I went abroad. And then as it came time to graduation, and I was like, okay, I'm about to start my big girl life now, it really freaked me out that I was in such a serious relationship. I did in the back of my mind kind of see him as probably the person I would marry, but I also just couldn't imagine being a person who went straight from a college relationship and had no dating or life as an independent single person in New York, because I was moved to the city after college. So I was kind of I think that we need to take a break to sort of reassess and see, not see what else is out there, but kind of see what else is out there, and then decide if we think that this is it. Because to me, I was I don't know, I think 21, 22 is really young to get so serious or be so serious, especially when I knew it had so much potential. It kind of freaked me out. So yeah, we broke up. He was not prepared for it and was not interested. He was like ready like for me to graduate college and move in together. And I kind of like pulled the rug out from under him, but I also was just like very insistent that I thought it was the right thing to do. And I said, just give me like a month to find myself. And like it actually ended up being 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And we went through various phases of like trying to be friends, and like that didn't really work because we were obviously like romantic partners. So it was like weird to then all of a sudden backtrack to becoming friends because we were never really friends. And then we would go through periods where we like cold turkey, like realized we couldn't talk to each other at all. It was just like not healthy. And eventually I'm the one who came crawling back. And it was like after 3 years, I felt like I had dated a lot of people. I'd sort of seen what there was to see. And I realized that he was the best one all along. And I also had no idea if he was still single or not because we really hadn't talked very much. Thankfully he was. And I said, I'm ready. He would say to me at the time, like, you just tell me when you're ready and like, I'll be here. And I didn't believe it necessarily, but then I basically said, I'm ready. And he said, okay, let's do it. So then we got back together.
I love that for so many reasons. Well, first of all, how old were you when you came back to him?
So it was, I guess, 3 years after I graduated college. So it was probably like 27 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 26. I mean, he still holds it over my head every single day to this day. It's literally been 10 years, but I let him have it. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I also love it because I feel like if you're going to break up and get back together, I think that the only way that it works if it's from the woman doing it. Because I feel like the man, like men in general, just have to be so sure. Mm-hmm. And he was clearly so sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like if the doubts come from like the guy's side.
Oh, I would have never recovered.
Totally.
I would have been like, okay, so you made your decision.
Right. Like if he strung you along, not saying that that's what you did, but for 3 years.
It would have been game over.
Oh my God.
Me,
your friends would be like, Lindsay,
he's
it's
just not
over.
that into you.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Totally.
But I mean, I try to explain rationally why. And even to this day, I say to him, aren't you so grateful that we like were able to just have that time to like do our own thing? And I mean, he won't admit it, but obviously I think he realizes like we may not even be together and married to this day if we didn't have that period apart.
I think it's so necessary. I mean, not just because you're an Aquarius who like can't be tied down, but also because, you know, I hate like I'm watching Love Island right now. I don't know if you watch, but like I hate when they do the tests, right? But at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, now they're legit. Now they're gonna survive Casa Amor, you know?
100%.
And you guys know that you can survive Casa Amor now.
I also think like that period of your life between like 22 and 26, 27, it's a very formative period. So much changes. You're like getting your first job, and then maybe you're moving on to your like second job. You're kind of climbing the career ladder, and your friend groups might be changing. You're going out a lot because, you know, you're kind of like in that young, like fresh, just out of college, you know, you have that energy. So to be like tied down and serious with someone when there was just like so much, in my opinion, there was like so much out there. I don't know. I just felt like I would be doing myself a disservice and doing him a disservice. So I think we also both like changed a lot in those 3 years. And I'm so glad that like when we came back together at that point, I think we had both matured a lot, and we both like knew what we wanted. And it was just so much the better. Like it was just so much better. I mean, he probably, I don't know if he would say that, but I think he knows deep down.
No, I think 100%. Like I think anyone listening to this who's like 30 or older, looking back at when they were 23, 24, 25, like that was not, I could never have met the person for me then or been with the person for me then.
Right. Because
I was not the person that I am now. Right. And like it never would have worked. So.
And I also was never the type of person that was like, oh, I like dying to get married, like need to find my husband, need to get married. I was kind of like, I'll just whatever. If it happens, it happens. If not, then it won't. And I always knew that I would probably like be like one of the later people to get married, or I just was never in a rush. And because I just felt like I had a lot of other things in my life that I wanted to like do and experience and whatever before I like settled down with someone. Not that like really settling down changes things that much,
Right.
but you know, there's like a lot of life to live before that.
Totally agree. And speaking of things changing when you settle down, so part of the reason that I'm so excited to talk to you is because you have a different perspective than we hear often on having kids. And I'm curious kind of the origin of that, and if it originated with you, if it originated with Matt, your husband, or, you know, if it was a conversation that you guys came to this conclusion together.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I think for me, as I was, you know, in my early 20s, I like certainly was not thinking about having kids then. I don't think a lot of maybe some people, but most of my friends were just focused on like ourselves and having fun and trying to like be successful in our jobs. And I think I definitely had some friends that would say, oh, they were like, couldn't wait to be a mom one day and loved kids or loved to like play with their nieces and nephews or cousins or whatever. And I just like never really felt that way. I've always sort of been a little indifferent about kids, which is kind of, I don't know, sometimes it feels like a bad thing to say, but it's just like the honest truth. And I never really felt that like maternal like pull to have kids. And so as I started to get older and as some of my friends started having kids or at least talking about it or trying, I was kind of like, okay, I wonder like when I'll start feeling the same way. And I like have this blog post. I have a blog and have this whole blog post explaining how I just like spent so many years feeling so confused. Like, why don't I feel maternal? Why don't I have that like inherent urge to like be a mother? And I kept feeling like every birthday that would go by, I'd be like, oh, maybe this is the year I'm going to wake up and decide I want to be a mom.
Right.
And I'm 36 and up until this point still has not happened. And I think that what I'm coming to terms with and what I'm finding myself more and more comfortable with is like, that's okay. You know, I don't think it's not everyone. Maybe it isn't for everyone. And I don't know, maybe I'll feel differently in 2 years or 4 years. And I'm leaving myself open to that possibility. But I just kind of am not putting pressure on myself to feel negatively or badly about, you know, not having that burning desire to be a mom that I know like a lot of people have.
Right. It's so interesting because I just to be transparent and like, I think all of us, like most of us in society feel like, you know, that's the step, like
Right.
you have kids, right? And so hearing you say that, I'm like, you know what? That makes complete sense. And like, why bring a child into a world where you don't want to?
Right.
Like, it's crazy that so many people do if they don't really want to. But then part of me is like, I can accept it for you 100%. For like best friends of mine who might say this to me, it's much harder for some reason. And I'm curious what it's like with closer people in your life. But because I'm like, I know, like, I don't really know you, but I really know my best friend. And like, I know that she's going to be such a great mom. And like, I know that like, you know, and of course, like this is just my own projections onto her at the end of the day.
Sure.
But I'm like, I just like want her to like have this great family. And it's like, but with you, I'm like, okay, sounds good. You know? So what is it like for you, like telling, you know, your followers and people who admire you versus like people who actually really know you?
Yeah. Well, I feel like with my friends, I've just always been so open. Like they kind of always laugh that like they were scared to like tell me that they were pregnant or something. We like laugh about it, but I'm like, guys, just because I don't necessarily know if I want kids, it doesn't mean I'm not going to be so excited for you. Like I love my friends and I think like I look at them and I just think they're like amazing moms and it's so cool and really like incredible to see how you know, like these people that I've known my whole life, like see them in a totally different light and see them really like leaning into being like an amazing mom. But I feel like they've always known that I've been like the one that just wasn't really into it so much. And so I think they probably would say, oh, you would be an amazing mom. And I probably would be. Like, I'm a very ambitious, dedicated person. So it's like usually whatever I do, I'm like going in hard 100%. So I probably would be a good mom, but I also like, I don't know if I want to be. So, and interestingly, when I have brought it up on Instagram or when I first started talking about it, I honestly almost had a hard time articulating it. I was like, I don't even know how to like explain it because I'm not like 100%. I'm never gonna have kids. I'm just saying like right now, I'm still not feeling the pull, and I was so surprised how many people were like, oh my gosh, I've never been able to talk about this with anyone. I feel the same exact way. Like you're the first person I've ever heard of who's like actually said it out loud. And everything you said is exactly what I've been thinking. And I, first of all, I like was like, wow, okay, that's nice to not feel that I'm like the oddball, that, you know, maybe there are actually more people than I thought that felt that way, but no one really talks about it. So, yeah, it was just like a little bit comforting. And then in terms of my husband, it's weird. Like looking back when we got together or whatever, we like truly never talked about having kids. And I think maybe it's because like both of us were sort of about, we didn't know. So it just honestly never came up until probably when I started mentioning that I wanted to freeze my eggs. And he was like, oh, like, do you want to have kids one day? Like, are you doing that because like you would want to have kids? And I was like, well, and then I had explained, you know, female biology and how as you get older, it's not just like one day, you know, you could snap your fingers and I decide I'm 45. Like, wouldn't be that easy. So then it was like probably one of the first times it brought up the conversation, but which is bizarre. But I guess the two of us, because neither of us were very passionate about like the parenthood thing, it probably just never came up. We were just like focusing on our relationship and ourselves. And
was that post-marriage?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, it's like, it seems so weird now thinking about it. I guess probably when we were like starting out or early on in our relationship, like maybe we just said, oh, maybe one day we would have kids, but neither of us were like, we're going to get married and then like start trying after. Like it never even was a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess in a way I was like kind of relieved that he felt sort of the same indifference that I did, because I like don't know what I would have done if my husband was like dying to have a family, like that would make me feel more inspired to change my mind about it or be open to it. But because he's not really either, we're both kind of like, all right, we're just like really happy with our lives now. So
do you think that that would be different if you didn't have the baby that is your company?
That's a good question. I truly like we, you know, our startup, we just launched a couple of years ago. Our 100% of our like blood, sweat, and tears are into this. Like, we're co-founders. It's like, that is our child. So I feel like I can't even imagine there being room for like anything else at this point. But in a lot of ways, it does feel like we are like building and nurturing and growing this thing together. It's obviously not a human, but I don't know. I think that maybe for some people that is enough. And
yeah, because not saying that like women have babies because they don't have anything going on, because that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But what I'm saying is like, if you don't have anything going on, or
I
like
100% get what you're saying. Well, like, it's like, I think for a lot of people, it's just that's the next like it's like, okay, now you've done all the things you want. Now the next step is like, now like what you have to your next goal or whatever in life is to become a mom, and like that's you know the next thing. But I feel like I have a lot of things happening, and so I don't like have that itch to like go to that next like phase, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And the freezing eggs decision.
Yeah.
That was just in case we change our mind.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. So I had been like, maybe I talked to like a gynecologist or something about it. And I was always curious about it because I knew, like, even when I was 24, 25 years old, I was like, if I'm going to have kids, I'm definitely going to be like a late in life mom. I knew I was like, I was not in any rush, like could not be like less interested in that idea, at least, at 24, 25. So even at that age, I was like, I probably should be the type of person that freezes their eggs because I know it's going to be a long time for me, if at all.
Right.
And then, I just kept putting it off, and I was like intimidated by the conversation. I didn't even like know where to start. And then I feel like as I got to my late 20s, that's when a lot of these like new facilities started launching that sort of like normalized egg freezing and the conversation around it. And I started seeing more people talk about it. And so then I started looking into it I think I did it when I was like 29 no, maybe I was like 32 or something. I don't remember. It was around that time, 29, 30 is when I first started thinking about it.
Right.
And then it took a few years for me to like actually do it.
Are you happy with your experience? Like, did anything?
Yeah. I mean, I do feel, and like, listen, it's obviously anyone who's gone through IVF or done like egg freezing or embryo freezing knows it's like never a guarantee.
Right.
But in a way, I feel like it did give me like a little peace of mind. Like, I think before that, I had always had this like, it was like weighing on me. Like every day I was like, oh my God, every day that goes by that I like still am not dying to get pregnant. I'm like, well, then really have to start thinking about it because the clock is ticking. And that's like a shitty feeling to have. So I do think in a way it was freeing to sort of know that I took the steps and we froze embryos.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Yeah. And
so you did both?
No, just embryos. I've been referring to it as egg freezing because like I feel like people just understand that better. But
sure,
it's like embryo freezing. I don't know.
Well, so just to like break it down for anyone listening, embryo freezing, the chance of it working is a lot higher than egg freezing.
I think, yeah, that's what this.
So like if you have a life partner in your life, and you know that it's someone that if you were to have kids, you would have it with this person, embryo freezing is like a better idea than egg freezing, but having both options is great.
Right. I think when I went, they said a lot of women do like both. Just like, God forbid, like you get divorced or who knows.
Yeah.
I didn't decide to do both because after one round I was like, I'm tapped out.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think they encourage people to do both.
And they also make you sign like an embryo prenup.
Oh my God. My husband was like, what the fuck is this? Like he like what he was like, if you like think this is like a good idea to like do and you know the women's bodies and whatever, all that stuff more than I do. So like, I'll support you. I'll go to the appointments, whatever. And then it was like when it was the final like stage and I was like, so here's a piece of paper where we need to like say what we would do with them if either of us dies in a car accident. Like, would we donate it to I'm like, would you donate it to science? Like, would you have them destroyed? He was like, this is so intense. But I think it was like, what celebrity? There was some celebrity who had that who is it? There's a celebrity who did embryo freezing and then got divorced from her husband, and then the ex-husband was like basically trying to like fight for custody of the embryo. It was like a whole
God.
And I think they hadn't figured out that whatever in advance.
That's like so fucked up. Like I'm
so
sorry.
Fucked up.
Like
I know.
This is a woman who like needs the fucking embryo. Like you can go make 1 million embryos with 1 million women, but like the woman gets the embryo. I don't know. What did you decide ultimately in the prenup?
I don't even remember. I think it was more just like, it was like whatever. He's like, whatever you want to do is up to you. Like, but yeah, I remember that being like, what is this? This is like so intense. And I was like, just fill it out. Like, think about it, talk about it, and then just like fill it out.
Right.
So yeah, that was like a very startling part of the experience.
Well, speaking of prenups, so you and your husband work together. What are your positions at Hotel Lobby?
So I'm the founder. He's my co-founder. We have like very different roles. I really oversee all of our creative, our marketing. I'm kind of the face of the brand. A lot of my followers on Instagram have now converted into fans of our candle brand. And he basically does like everything else, like operations, finance, product development. It just keeps the business in line and keeps us keeps me from spending all of the money.
Right.
And it's like good to have like a very responsible person, and then one who's like totally off the wall and like has a million crazy ideas and wants to do everything. That's me. But yeah, that's how it works. And he left his job to come do it with me full time. And I was really nervous. I mean, I knew it would like bring a very different dynamic to our relationship working together. But God bless him. And like, I just feel like we know how to work with each other. We've just known each other for so long, and we're both like pretty easygoing people. We're both equally ambitious and like hardcore about running our business, but also we compromise. He lets me like do my thing, and I know that there are certain things I can only push so far on, and he has to like keep the reins tight. So it works. But I think every day, like, you have to be a very, very strong couple to do a startup together.
Oh my God.
Because it's also like there's we don't have kids. So like all we ever do is like talk about work stuff. And then sometimes we'll be like, okay, let's like not talk about the business or work stuff. And then we always end up talking about it anyway. But honestly, it's because we're like passionate and excited, and we're building this thing together, and it's like really exciting. We're growing fast, and it's nice to be able to like share in that with the person that you like live with, and you're like building, like a future together through that. So it would feel weird to me if I was like doing it with anyone else.
Yeah, of course. Because you guys are married and you are in business together, I'm so curious because I don't think I've ever asked anyone this who is married and in business together. I am assuming you have a prenup because you have to because you're in business together. No?
No. I mean, we started so much.
Do you have like a business contract?
We have. I mean, we're both like 50-50 owners of the company.
Right.
But yeah, because we started it like so much into our marriage, it kind of never really came up.
Yeah.
I think if I had started it before, right, and it was like super successful, there totally would have been one in place. Yeah.
I mean, it's never too late to to go back.
Yeah.
I don't have a prenup in my marriage, and like people all the time are like, "Oh, are you sure?"
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I feel like when we got married, we were both just like totally, we were both kind of bringing the same to the marriage, and now, we have been working hard and like building this company, and we're just like in it together. So
yeah, I love it. Okay, a few more questions came in about the decision to not have kids because people are obsessed.
I was wondering, I saw you put up that question box. I was like, I wonder if like anyone actually will ask questions.
Oh no, people did.
But I think even just based on, when I post about it, and I don't know like what age, I'm guessing your audience is probably my age or younger.
Right.
But I'm always surprised how many people literally find my blog post on Google by Googling, will I regret the decision to not have kids?
Yeah.
And my blog post comes up, was one of the first things. And so people will message me on Instagram who like don't follow me, like have no idea who I am other than a person whose blog they read, and say, oh my God, I can't believe how much this resonated with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've had a friend ask me, how do you know that you want to have kids? Because I don't want to have kids.
I feel like I've asked my friends that too.
Right. And I feel like this is the same as like if a friend came to me and they're like, how do you know your husband's the one?
Right.
I'm like, well, your husband's probably not the one.
Right.
Because you're asking me that. So if you're asking me how I know I want to have kids or not, you should probably think about not having kids.
So do you have friends that are the same, or people that at one time felt that way?
I have the friend that I mentioned that asked me that question. But she's not in a relationship.
Right.
So she doesn't have to really think about that just this moment, unless she wants to like freeze her eggs.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who is like a little indifferent, like as well. I think similar to you, like if her husband like was more adamant about it, like she might be too.
Right.
But they also like love their lifestyle, and that's something like they just got a dog, and that's something I'm actually curious.
Yeah.
Like what? Obviously, this is like an invasive question, but like here we are.
Yeah.
Like what are you guys? What are the top things you spend money on? Since like you don't have kids?
Yeah. We are big travelers.
Yeah.
We kind of, that is like that's where we're spending our money, like
Right.
nice vacations. I like buy myself nice things. I don't, we own an apartment and we have a second apartment. So
No pets.
oh no, we actually have a dog.
Oh,
We have a
okay.
little wiener dog named
Cute.
Pierre. He's very
Aw.
cute. So we spend time and money on him.
Mhm.
But we have an apartment in New York and an apartment in Miami. So we are snowbirds basically.
It's amazing.
And yeah, we live a very untethered lifestyle. Like
Mhm.
literally, I mean, our business, we can kind of work from anywhere. So if we tomorrow said, oh, we want to just like get up and go to Paris or something, which we like, I feel like we don't actually even do. We don't take advantage of it that much because we're too like, in with our work stuff. But yeah, we're pretty untethered, which is like a good
Yeah.
feeling. And
Yeah.
I think that's also part of what freaks me out about the idea of like not having, I've been so used to that like freedom for so long. And I don't know if it's selfish or just like the feeling of freedom, like it I don't know, it freaks me out to like not be able to be that way because I've always just been kind of free and just doing what I want.
Yeah. You mentioned before, like a lot of your friends have kids. How do you not feel like left out at all? And more importantly, like has it affected any of your friendships? Because I feel like even now, I have some friends who have like 2 kids. Or I'm 32, and I have 2 like friends that have kids already and like are already in the suburbs.
Yeah.
And like I would be lying if I said that didn't affect our friendship.
Yeah.
Like just not being at that point yet.
Yeah.
So have you felt that in any of your
So
friendships?
I actually have a couple of friends that have 3 kids, like to the point where if I ever had kids, like theirs will probably be in college by the
Oh my
time.
God.
It's like they would be. I mean, it's really crazy, but I have to give my friends a lot of credit because they like have all maintained like the friendship and like their individuality and their fun spirit and all of that. And I feel like none of them have really changed since like they had kids. And obviously it affects our relationships just in a like scheduling capacity. And like, it's like kind of hard to like get everyone together. But
Mhm.
I have like a really big group of girlfriends from college. And like, even just like 2 weeks ago, we like had a big girls' night out and like everyone came. And, I don't talk to everyone as much as maybe we did before when everyone had, but like in a way, I feel like a lot of us are at a point in our lives where like we all have a lot going on. Like it's really busy. Having kids is a whole other world of having things going on. So, and I like totally respect that. It's like sometimes if we try to make plans or if friends can't make it, because I'm like, I totally understand. Like would never like be like disappointed,
Right.
I think, it's a hard pill to swallow when you graduate college and then your friends start like getting married. That's like the first one.
Right.
Because then it's like, especially if you're single and you're like, oh, well, what happened to like the fun crew that goes out every Friday and Saturday night and goes out for happy hour during the week? Slowly, like that crew dwindles off. And then it's like you have to struggle with that transition. I remember that transition being hard for me and like some of my other friends. We were like, wait, like I thought we were all going to just be like single and partying together forever.
Yeah.
And then when like that doesn't happen, then you kind of like start to accept that. And then it's sort of the same thing happens when your friends are having kids and they move to the suburbs and, like life changes a little bit. And I think it's just about how you adapt to it. And I think there's also like an acceptance period where it's like, it's never going to be what it was when everyone is young and single at the same time. And that's okay. It's like we evolve in life and things change. And I think if you value like the strength of your friendships and your time you spend together, it's like you spend probably less time together, but the time you do spend together is more valuable. But I will say that's, I'm sure, not the case for everyone. I think I'm lucky to have girlfriends who like value their time with their girlfriends and without their kids. So, and then, of course, the ones that have kids, I'll play dates with all the kids, and I don't feel left out at all. I'm like, you guys go do you. Doesn't really interest me. I like went to a couple of the birthday parties in the beginning, and now I'm like, all right, I think
you can
skip. I'm out of. I'm no longer attending the birthday parties.
I think that's totally fair.
Yeah.
But is there any like resentment about like, you know, when someone has a kid, you have to like send them a gift and you have to like do this. And it's like, don't you ever feel like you're constantly just like buying gifts for people's kids? And it's like, are they buying hotel lobby candles for you? Like,
honestly, they are supporting me in the business, so I'm fine with that. But I kind of think it was like in the beginning, it felt like, oh my God, like there's so many kids and a first birthday and now there's a second kid and another. But I don't know. I think it gets to a point where like I don't think my friends expect like they have 3 kids, all 3 have birthdays. I'm going to send a gift for. I mean, maybe I should be. I don't know, but I kind of think it's like the expectation is not really
right.
Yeah,
right.
There.
It's overwhelming. Okay, so this one is really important, I feel, and this can be the last one, and then we'll do some rapid fire. But somebody asked for tips for dating as a woman who doesn't want kids and when to bring it up, assuming that you have other friends who aren't married, who don't want kids, or like, you know, putting yourself in the position of someone right now if you were single and you had the same sentiment.
That's such an interesting question because it's actually like not something I had to deal with, because I think even when I was in my early 20s, I wasn't, when I was dating or even with my now husband, I don't think I was so. I think if I was on a date with a guy and they said, "How do you feel about having kids?" I probably would have been like, "Yeah, like maybe one day." But I think for someone who is like 100%, it is not for me. Like, I think you kind of have to be, I think it's like not a first date conversation, but I think once you start to get serious with someone and maybe you see them as a potential partner in life, I think it's just, you bring it up, because if you don't, like, what's the alternative? You end up in a long-term relationship. And I've actually seen relationships, I think like my husband, a friend or two, they had long-term relationships that ended because they were together for many years. They kind of were at a standstill with the kids thing, and it just didn't make sense to continue. If the one person in the relationship really wants it and the other one doesn't, like, it's very hard to find a medium there. There's no like in between. There's not like, oh, you can kind of have kids or not.
Right.
But I think it's just like honesty, like transparency, and being upfront and listen. Like, I think you just need to be so confident in that decision that it's like, if the guy is into it, or the girl, whoever you're dating, loves you and they don't feel as strongly, then like, then nothing will change. And if they feel strongly, then maybe that's just like not the person for you, and that's okay.
Right. I'm curious, in your husband's friend situation, was it the man or the woman who didn't want to?
I think there was like an example of each. I think one was the woman wanted kids and the guy didn't. And then there was another one where I think it was the guy wanted kids and the girl didn't.
I feel like so many times women think that they can convince the man to want kids.
Yeah.
But the other way around does not work. Like, you cannot convince a woman who doesn't want kids to like get pregnant and give birth.
For sure. Like, I think it's like, if a woman is saying that she's like wants to be child free, like, she wants to be child free. Like,
right.
There's no, you don't say that like lightly.
Right. Exactly. But I feel like men, and I personally think this is a toxic thing to be like, oh no, he'll change because of a kid.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a lot of women will say that. And what I have heard is that like, once a man is holding a child, like it's a different feeling than like when one's on the way or like talking about it.
I'm sure.
But I still don't think that like, you don't half-ass like being a dad. Like,
totally.
You have to be so excited about that, I feel.
Yeah, I think it just like, I think it requires like a big conversation,
Right.
I also think if you guys, like, if you're unsure, the husband is unsure, and you are together, or your boyfriend, whatever, and you get together, then like it becomes something that you kind of make a decision about together in a way, or you like work through it together.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay, we're going to do some rapid fire questions. I feel like there are some in here about kids, actually, funny enough.
Okay.
But let's see.
Just so funny, because it's like the topic of kids is just like not something I usually like talk about other than when it comes up. But I feel like for the purpose of this podcast, I like hope it's helpful to some people. Oh my God,
it's going to be the most helpful. Do you feel pressure? So these are just like yes or no questions, basically. Do you feel pressure to eat on the same schedule as your partner? Yes or no?
No.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly sometimes eat dinner at like 11 p.m. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm in something. You fend for yourself.
Yeah.
I'm busy.
I feel like when it's a new relationship, it's harder, but
Yes.
Yeah. When you had a bad falling out with a friend, do you remove them on social media, mute them, or don't do anything?
I'd probably do nothing.
Mm-hmm. You're dating your significant other for 2 years. You looked at their hidden photo album and you saw photos and combos of an ex from 5 years ago that he said he deleted. Is that sus, or should you just not have gone looking for what you don't want to find?
Ooh. Okay, so you're dating the guy now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like screenshots from 5 years ago?
Yeah, like photos.
I don't think I'd care.
Yeah.
It was for so long. If it was recent,
It's like, don't go in someone's hidden
Yeah,
folder. Like, don't go through someone's phone.
right. I mean, it's a little odd, but like maybe he didn't even know that it was there.
I'm sure he knew, but it's also like we all
Right.
keep some sort of like keepsake
Yeah.
from something in our lives. You're dating officially for 6 months and he doesn't post you on story or Instagram, even though he stories a good amount. Red flag or deal breaker?
I can't decide whether that would bother me or maybe it's just like, trying to be like mystery. Like I feel like a lot of girls do that. They like won't post their man if they just like want it to be a little mysterious.
Yeah, but like you've been dating for 6 months. They're your boyfriend for 6 months.
Okay, I guess I'm thinking if you're like a public figure or something.
Yeah.
All right, if you're a regular person, it's probably a little weird.
Yeah.
I would definitely just call it out. I'd be like, well, like what's wrong with me?
Right.
You're trying to
Like
hide
why
me.
are you hiding?
Yeah.
Have you ever had your friend call you to get out of a date? Yes or no?
Yes.
Should you give it a shot? Okay, this is a kid's one. Should you give it a shot if male partner definitely wants kids and female is mostly sure that she doesn't want kids? Yes or no?
It's so hard. It's like not a yes or no because it's like mostly sure. I feel like how far on the scale are you? I don't know. Maybe give it a shot, but talk about it.
Yeah. Is it ever acceptable for a guy to approach a woman on the street when she's wearing AirPods to hit on her?
Is he hot?
I think that's really the answer.
If not, then no. Like, don't talk to me.
Yeah. Do you feel pressure to not wear the same wedding guest dress twice? Yes or no?
Oh, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. As long as you're not posting.
Yeah.
It,
Also, like, just spread them out.
Yeah. Would you tell your girlfriend if she had a mustache? Yes or no?
Does this make me a bad friend? But I don't think I would say it.
I actually think it makes you like a nice, because you don't want to hurt her feelings.
Yeah. I don't think I'd say it.
It depends on the friend. Like I have some friends that I could say anything to.
Right.
And I have some friends that are more sensitive.
Yes, exactly. You got to know like the person.
Yeah. After hibachi, are you extremely full or still hungry?
Like so full that I can't move, like in a coma.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm always so hungry. Okay. Okay, this is very topical, but do you think Jonah Hill's texts to his ex were controlling? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, they were vile.
Crazy. At what point is still not being over an ex weird/problematic? 6 months, 9 months, a year, or 2 years?
Don't they say it's like the length of time that you
The
were
half the
dating?
time you
yeah.
dated,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if you're not over them in 6 months, I actually think that's problematic.
Yeah, that does.
Like today.
Yeah, that
like if
does
we were
feel-
like, it's a high school boyfriend, like it takes
Right.
a while, but like
Yeah,
You
6
gotta-
months feels like
you gotta get over it.
Yeah.
Like, but of
Unless
course,
it was
easier
trauma-
said than
right,
done.
also,
Yeah, of
like,
course.
trauma,
Yeah,
something
always
messed up
exceptions. Always
happened.
exceptions. Getting a house with friends for a weekend. Do those who end up with less ideal sleeping conditions, like are in a bunk bed or have to sleep on a couch, pay less than those who get a room, or should everyone pay equally?
I think everyone pays equally, but the people with better rooms like get a few rounds of drinks extra.
Yeah, that's nice.
Or they just like offer to pay more.
Right. Okay, this is a great one to end on. Do you know any babies/toddlers who don't ever have meltdowns? Yes or no?
No, I've never met one. I feel like if I had met one, then maybe I'd feel differently about
I'm
having
dead.
kids.
That's amazing. Lindsay, this has been so fun. Can you leave us with a quote or piece of advice, something that you like or have heard through the years?
Oh my gosh. I really wish I would have thought of something more profound. karma's a bitch.
Oh, I love that.
I just woke up a big believer in karma.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
know, I just was thinking about that because my Uber driver on the way here was so nice.
Yeah.
And he gave me a little shortcut way that he's dropped me off. And he said, you know, I could have made more money if I kept you in the car, like and most Uber drivers would, and drove around the block and sat in traffic, and that would have made me more money. But I believe that the person up there rewards people who are good. And that's why I decided not to whatever. And I was like, you were right, sir. I believe that.
I love that.
And that was why that was on my mind. I don't actually have any I'm
Yeah.
not harboring any ill will toward
No, of
anyone.
course. But karma's a bitch.
Yeah.
I love it. Where can everybody find you, follow you, buy hotel lobby, candle, all the things?
So my Instagram handle is at Lindsay Silb. My blog that I had mentioned is lindsaysilberman.com. And my brand, Hotel Lobby Candle, which are candles inspired by luxury 5-star hotels. We're sold at Neiman Marcus. We're sold on our website, hotellobbycandle.com. And our Instagram is Hotel Lobby Candle.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.